when we read Albert Nobbs, which was truly, that was the first movie Julie, Lynn, and I did together, and she had already had a decade of independent film experience behind her, and she really understood so many of the pieces in a way that I could understand. She speaks Bonnie. So she would turn to me and say, let me explain this to you in a way you can understand it. So we're on the 50-yard line. No, but she, when I read that script, this is the way I can think to answer your question. When I read Albert Nobbs, I swear to you, I thought we could make this movie for $8 million. I even have the email that said that, like 4 years before we made the movie, because then we went about trying to put it together. But the reason I knew that is because I knew the set pieces in it. I knew how many times we were going to have to move, and I knew how much one of our set pieces had cost on a Spielberg movie that had been practical. And so I'm using, like you said, I'm using my experience and I'm building on it, and then I know the actors, I know sort of what everybody's willing to work for, which is one of the things independent film, you know, you're paying your actors scale, and you're hoping that if you make money, they'll make money on the back end. That's one of the huge expenses of studio filmmaking, is you're paying your actors their full freight, and your director. So if you lop that off, you're already getting closer. And, you know, we weren't building. I knew we weren't building. So I did have a concept of cost. And then, you know, we found a production company in Ireland, a line producer, to do an actual budget for us of this film, an AD to do an actual schedule for us. That's the way Julie and I approach it. We come at it from how much do we need to make this movie. What we're doing simultaneously is we're associating with a foreign sales company, sending the script out to, you know, our list, finding someone who gravitates to who we already have attached. We already had Glenn, of course. And then starting to nuance sort of, okay, if these actors, how much could we get for these actors? How much for these actors? How much for these actors? And I mean, that was 2010. And that was, we ended up making the movie for $8 million because we got soft money out of Ireland. So about a $6 million net. We absolutely could not make that movie today. I know for a fact, we talk about it all the time. In every meeting we're in, we're like, how much money do you think we get for Nobbs today? 3 million, you know, 3.4 maybe. But that, you know, what's happened over the last 7, 8 years in the independent film, you know, the foreign sales-based independent film market, the shrinkage that we've all experienced, I don't think we could have made it. Not to the level we wanted to make it, because it was a period film. We had a lot of weather. We had things that we could do. I mean, we found practical sets, but yeah, I mean, I think that one would be unmakeable.
It's interesting you say that, because I think that there's sort of a perception that it's sort of easier today to kind of get things made just because of the ease of access and the, you know, the digital world and all.
Well, and I appreciate that. It absolutely depends on the type of film you're trying to make. Of course it's easier to make things, but it's not easier to make movie star driven prestige set piece, you know, really try to make something that looks like you spent $25 million to make it. I wish, I mean, Julie and I produced a film last year called Life for Sony, which is the closest we've gotten to horror, you know, so there is a way into genre for us. But we so gravitate to these character pieces and, you know, drama, and those are the ones that, you know, we would love to make a romantic comedy. You know, 5 to 7 is probably the closest we ever got, but it's a challenge, you know, in the indie world to fit it properly into the box. If your goal is to get your investors their money back. You know, if your goal, we do straight equity. I mean, we've done a bank loan one time, but we try to back into a number that guarantees our investors a return. So we are admittedly doing it in a very conservative model. You know, as Julie likes to say, we have to sleep at night.